welcome to an episode of the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, talking about all the action inside and outside the ring, all the backstage curtain calls, all the rumors, all the drama, and all the fan conspiracy theories us as wrestling fans obviously do on a day-to-day basis, which is always really fun. We talk about, WWE releases, AEW transfers. We talk everything in terms of professional wrestling. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice-cold beverage, and get ready for an hour of professional wrestling talk. Also, remember to participate in the chat. My motto is, this podcast is a hell of a lot more entertaining with the audience engagement. Other than that, I'm just rambling up here for an hour. Not really cool. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not trying to be cool. I don't got to prove anything to anybody, I'm just kidding. No, moving on. Hope everybody had a great week. Obviously, happy Mother's Day to all the amazing, strong, beautiful mothers out there. Keep doing what you're doing. You are making a difference, and your hard work is noticed. Also, this month, May, mental health awareness month. So, those struggling with anxiety and depression, make sure you reach out, talk to somebody 1,010%. You can reach out to me here in the chat and just be like, Eric, I think you suck. And I'd be like, oh my God, I'm just kidding. No, definitely, make sure to, take care of yourselves. And, it's crazy. And I'm going to go on a strange little tangent for a second. That's not about professional wrestling. When you're a kid and, growing up during the adolescence stage, you go through a lot of stress and anxiety and, try to fit in all the pressure, all the angst, what that comes with, high school, middle school, basically in all school. And then, physicians and, pediatrician, they make it like, basically, they check your body, your physical health. They check your oral, obviously dentistry. You have your month, 6 month checkup, yearly checkup, either or, if your teeth sucks. You have, your vision, and it's crazy. I feel like there should be, maybe like a yearly chat to find out with with mental health and stuff like that. If you want to talk to somebody, that should be covered under health insurance. But then again, like I said, I'm not sure if that, that falls under a different tree that I'm totally surpassing and now, obviously breaching over. But, that kind of dawned upon me. I actually did want to do a research on that when I was taking my communications research during my bachelor's, when I was getting my bachelor's degree. But once again, mental health awareness month, May. Don't be afraid to reach out. Most of the time, it's people who feel, they feel nervous, they feel burdened to the person, they feel shy, they feel absolutely. They just feel nervous. They feel embarrassed, and sometimes it takes a friend to, or a friendly smile walking down the street, say hi to your neighbor, give a high five. It's always cool to be nice. Being a jerk nowadays is not really, it's not really cool. So, without further ado, and no longer gilding the lily, we're going to talk about professional wrestling. Have a great show for you today, all lined up. We're going to talk about some Smackdown, Backlash. Then we're going to talk about the WWE Women's World Tag Team Championship division. Dead, cursed, whatever you want to call it, it's bad. It's really, really bad right now, and we're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about my fourth segment. We're going to talk about my recent reactions on some of the WWE releases, which will ultimately kind of tie into what we're talking about within the Women's World Tag Team division. And for the final segment, we're going to cap it off with some AEW Dynamite Beach Break preview. So, like I said, grab your favorite snack, a nice cold beverage, a nice cold beer, root beer that is. Get some chips, whatever you guys like to snack on, and let's talk about professional wrestling together. But before we get into any of that, just want to remind you guys to go ahead and hit up that tips and donations link. Also hit up that super chat. Whether if you got a burning question or a hot take in terms of the world of professional wrestling, or just something you've been dying to get off your chest, here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity. And we want to make sure you guys feel like your voice is heard. Don't be shy, drop your thoughts inside that chat. If you really want to make sure your comment, question, or concern, obviously hit up that super chat. If you want to, talk, the chat is for free, 1,010%. But, if you want to throw us a bone here and there, obviously what you guys, the way you guys support the channel is through super chats, helps us keep the lights on, so we can keep bringing you guys the content that you guys love so damn much on, Monday through Friday on the GSMC Sports and the GSMC Podcast C Network. So, make sure, just give us a little love. We are super grateful for each and every one of you guys who joins us here daily on the GSMC Sports Network. Your support makes all the difference. So let's get this party started. send in those super chats, those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome, and together we will make sure this is the best wrestling podcast in the world. Once again, tips and donations, link not your thing. Go ahead and Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Follow the show, follow the network here at the GSMC Sports Network. We do pride ourselves on, making sure you guys are fully satisfied, making sure you guys know that this is our podcast. It's not just my podcast. We want you guys to feel like you guys are a part of the mix 1,010%. So don't be shy. Drop anything. Drop your top 10 female wrestlers. Drop your, European Championship favorite. Her hardcore. We talk WCW. We talk WWE/WWF. So yeah, just don't be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat. So now, without further ado, oh no, that was wrong. That was wrong. See, I've been gone for, quite some time. We're going to talk about some SmackDown. We talked about the Tips of the Nations link. So let's go ahead and talk about some WWE Friday Night SmackDown with Wade Barrett and Joe Tessitore. So, it was good. It was a good episode. Nice little, pre-episode before Backlash. We're, probably won't talk about some of the stuff that happened on Backlash, like the John Cena and Randy Orton thing. Yeah, it's cool. Like, we had a fake Randy Orton run out to the ring, and then Randy Orton came out and RKO'd him. Like, Randy Orton throughout these promos he's just been on top through this whole time. And obviously what happened at Backlash seems like it's, it pays justice to the way it ended, and we as fans are supposed to be happy. But, it is what it is. So, let's go ahead and talk about some SmackDown. So, obviously, one of the main matches, we had a number one contenders match for the WWE Women's Championship. Jade Cargill trying to get into the championship picture, trying to ignore the thorn in her side, Naomi. But obviously, that did not happen tonight. Naomi, she proved dividends, but Jade throughout the match was holding her own. This was a good match. This was exactly, the top tier contenders on the SmackDown women's division. Once again, still, WWE has not announced anything in terms of the draft, or maybe they have, and maybe I just completely glanced over it. If I have, make sure you drop inside that chat. But overall, I thought it was a good match. It was kind of cool to see, to see that confrontation between Jade and Charlotte before the match and before everything kind of got started. Charlotte Flair, after losing to Tiffany Stratton, putting Tiffany over. I don't know if she has another tall task ahead of her of putting Jade over. But Jade, I feel like she's over with the fans right now. I really honestly don't feel like Charlotte really has to, push any more, likeness onto Jade, because she's already kind of doing that within herself in that feud with Naomi and the feud with, who pushed her over, this and that and the other. And she was a nice, Women's World Tag Team Champion with Bianca Belair. So, she could wrestle. Everybody likes her. She has that, that bad girl mentality. I was going to say, the B word, but, she's a bad, no, I'm not going to say it. But Charlotte Flair, too, can't help but to give kudos to her. She's right now, doing so much within the women's tag team division on SmackDown. Triple H is obviously very happy with the way that Charlotte Flair has kind of, you're kind of seeing this within the women's division, too. Like, you've seen it with, with Bayley. You've seen it with Becky. You've seen it with Charlotte, where these top-tier contenders were once, the face of the division, holding Women's World Championships. And now it seems like it's kind of, it's kind of falling down to the younger, the younger like Bianca Belair, the younger like, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Tiffany Stratton, Jade Cargill. So, that's cool. Like Naomi doing the same thing for Jade, putting her over. I bet you that feud was, it was a huge blessing for Jade. And Jade got to work with one of her closest friends obviously talking backstage within the WWE. So, super cool. Definitely love Tiffany Stratton sitting ringside, totally shocked and scared and be like, oh my God, what's going on? I felt like did not want Nia Jax to get the win. But like I said before, it was inevitable. We had, Naomi she came in with the woodwork and, and she screwed Jade. She screwed Jade, bro. Justice for Jade. No, but this should be an interesting match with Nia Jax getting a rematch. She did have a rematch, but Candice LeRae, kind of screwed it up. And, too much to my chagrin, I was like, dude, like, why isn't Nia Jax beating the holy hell out of Candice LeRae? She literally cost you the match. Like, and now you're being like, good job, Candice. Like, I didn't really get that. So we might see a third WWE Women's Championship run between Nia Jax, which would be pretty cool. I feel like if she did overall take the belt off of Tiffany Stratton, I don't think it would really do much to, for Tiffany. I don't think it would, well, not like in terms of negative wise. I feel like she's already went out there in the grandest stage of them all, wrestled Charlotte Flair. She won. She's had the championship for quite some time. The Money in the Bank cash-in was awesome. But Nia Jax, I do have a soft spot in my heart for Nia Jax. And I feel like every single time she has a championship run, it's either cut short or something fluky and something weird happens where she loses it. But her getting cashed in is probably the best justice. It's kind of like that unwritten rule of professional wrestling when a champion loses the championship via Money in the Bank cash-in. It doesn't really look negative upon the champion who lost the belt. So maybe she might pick it back up. Next, we have a tag team championship. We had a tag team match that was should have been in the tag team championships. We had Los Garza, the Legado del Fantasma, taking on Andrade, Rey Fenix, and definitely something 1,010%. Rey Fenix in the WWE has been so damn good. Humberto, also Garza, Angel Garza has been they've been fantastic. Andrade coming back to WWE. You can just see these guys as being, maybe the new face of the, AAA in terms of, the new WWE partnership, which would kind of, it wouldn't suck because, they'd be kind of cool. And honestly, they would I feel like the luchadors and, the wrestling and stuff like that in Latin America would love to see these stars wrestle on like on their home turf and stuff like that. That'd be super cool. And, these guys bringing it to the WWE from Lucha Libre wrestling. And, it just makes WWE better. It makes all the wrestlers better. 1,010%. What Penta's doing on Monday Night Raw is, fantastic. What Rey Mysterio has been doing his whole tenure in WWE, and of course Eddie Guerrero as well. There's been a lot of great, Latin American wrestlers that, never really got the shine, never really got the recognition that they deserved, and which sucks, which is awful. It's terrible because WWE's always kind of had a stereotypical thing in terms of, Latin American wrestlers like them, like the Mexicools, which was stupid, but, it is what it is. Obviously they learned eventually. Next we have Carmelo Hayes taking on Aleister Black. This match was actually pretty good. It was a pretty damn good match. You see the top NXT stars. It's kind of crazy. Aleister Black coming back to WWE, and ever since he got promoted from NXT the first time to the main roster, he got kind of cut short. I felt like overall this was a nice match for both of these guys. Carmelo Hayes has been, kind of hidden under the radar as well on SmackDown. So I kind of felt like this was like a nice little showing out party for both of these guys. Obviously NXT, Aleister Black the first time, feels like, his stint in AEW, it just passed. It's like a hiccup. You know what I mean? I think Carmelo Hayes, doing what he does best. Every single time he enters the ring has been absolutely great. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He plays to his, his chemistry within his opponent inside the ring, and the way he overall dictates it. Like, he doesn't miss his cues. He doesn't miss, nonverbal, techniques. The matches are pretty badass, and every single time you see Carmelo Hayes in the ring, you can see it on the, on his opponent's faces that he's, overall he's making them both look good. And, I love the fact that a lot of, and you can hear this, backstage with all the WWE wrestlers, that Carmelo Hayes, he's young, but, with young, comes inexperience, but this guy's actually really, really experienced, no inexperience whatsoever. But, would eventually love to see him winning. Obviously, Aleister Black getting the roll up for the win, hitting the Black Mass on The Miz, and Carmelo Hayes kind of being like, what the hell just happened? And then Aleister Black didn't even attack Carmelo Hayes, which was classy, which was cool. And Carmelo Hayes kind of looks at it like, I feel like eventually he will step away from The Miz, but, who knows? Charlotte Flair comes out basically giving that, I'm the GOAT of women's wrestling. I'm the greatest of all time. Pay attention to me. Why are you so rude? Give me the respect I deserve or else I'm going to leave. She's jumping into that heel form once again. And this is honestly where Charlotte Flair shines. This is when, her as a champion is great for WWE. Her as a babyface champion, I don't really want to see it. I feel like Triple H obviously sees a lot of potential still in Charlotte Flair. Triple H, we'll just face it, Triple H had his most success in WWE as a heel, and I feel like that is portrayed, also reciprocated through Charlotte Flair too. Like, as a babyface, yeah, it's cool and all, but Charlotte as a heel holding the championship has been more successful. So it was kind of cool to see Charlotte embrace a little bit of the hate that the WWE Universe has ultimately been showing to her once when she's, she made her comeback, won the Royal Rumble. A lot of fans, dictated through social media, through all the wrestling media, basically being like, oh, it was the wrong decision. Why did Charlotte Flair win? And she's just kind of, playing the part, and she's doing it pretty damn well. Next, we have a tag team, the tag team champions, the Street Profits, have a hard-fought battle, but with the shocker, not really a shocker, they're such a great tag team. Nathan Frazier and Axiom defeat the Street Profits in a non-title match. Just gifted. Absolutely gifted 1,010%. WWE Smackdown is a lot, it's a lot better with Fraxiom. I thought they were going to go to Monday Night Raw to kind of help fix the World Tag Team Championship division, on Netflix. And I feel like, that should have been more ideal. Or maybe, before the WWE draft, you see Fraxiom just, beating all the SmackDown teams. And then, when they come to Raw, that's when they're going to stake their claim and be like, we're going to be tag team champions. And they'll be way better marketable champions than this new day, which is, completely awful. It's terrible, obviously, in my opinion. Sign of respect from all of these guys, it's about wrestling. It's about the tag team division. That the Street Profits, Motor City Machine Guns, even pretty deadly. DIY, Los Garza. You literally had the tag team division in shambles on SmackDown and on Raw. SmackDown fixed it. The tag team division in SmackDown right now is absolutely on fire with the addition of Nathan Frazier and Axiom from NXT. So I'm definitely looking forward to more tag team action on SmackDown. Alexa Bliss returns after 6 months to help Zelina Vega, the WWE Women's United States Champion, defeat Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, which was pretty cool. Absolutely can't get enough of seeing Sister Abigail, Sister Abigail DDT on Alexa Bliss, which is great for Alexa. Alexa's always been kind of, she's been small, not dogging her, nothing bad about that. The Sister Abigail DDT, you can hit it on like a person like Nia Jax. You can hit it on Rhea Ripley, which is super cool because usually finishing moves like, you look at Zelina Vega as the Code Red. She was trying to hit it on Piper Niven, wasn't really working out. And then, which kind of creates doubt. Be like, oh, how could she win without, hitting her finisher? So she's always got to win by a small package, roll up, or something like that. But a crucifix, pin or something. But it's always good to see Alexa Bliss. It was kind of cool how, she was shaking everybody's hand. She's happy. She's having fun. I feel like she's having fun at where she's at right now. So, definitely can't wait to see these two have more success on WWE Smackdown. I feel like they'll stay, even with the draft and all that, they'll stay. Main event time, we have the tag team match we had a lot of tag team matches. We had a tag team match, the LA Knight and Damian Priest take on Jakob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. The LA Knight and Damian Priest can't really coexist, and that's not really much of a surprise to anybody. You have these two top baby faces in WWE. They like to run their mouths. They like to, seem dominant and strong and everything. They think they're all that in a bag of chips. But the WWE Universe, I gotta be honest, they're warming up to Jakob Fatu, which is definitely 1,010% what needs to be done. Solo Sikoa did so much for Roman Reigns when he returned on at SummerSlam last year. Basically turned Roman into a babyface. Based on Solo Sikoa being a complete d-bag, and just being so overzealous. But it seems like I feel like we are eventually going to get Jakob Fatu and Solo Sikoa going one-on-one. Drew McIntyre obviously coming out on top before their match at Backlash, which we're going to talk about right now. So, without further ado, we're going to take a short break first. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage, and join me here in about 25 seconds. So, hey, do not go absolutely anywhere.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live at 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern time, usually around 8 p.m. Gotta be honest, it seems like whenever, there's, like I'm dying to get online, like something happens where the internet, living in Southern California sucks. I also got a text today that Verizon, there's going to be power outages, so there's disruption within your service. Don't get upset. You know what I mean? Basically, the gist of it. But, all in all, California, beautiful, but weather affects everything. It's crazy. It's either too hot, it's too windy as hell, but, Disneyland's 2 hours away, which is pretty cool for me and my kids. Actually, no, not really. That's bad for my wallet. I'm just kidding. Moving on. It's all about the kids. All right, without further ado, we have some WWE Backlash recap, and we're going to talk about it. But before we get into any of that, just want to remind you guys once again to participate in the chat. Go ahead and hit up that super chat, whether if you got a burning question or a hot take in terms of the world of professional wrestling or just something you've been dying to get off your chest. Here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do accept every single, opinions, your guys' conspiracy theories. There's no such thing as a bad chat, obviously. Here at the GSMC Sports Network, we do love a lot of peace, love, and positivity. Respect is the name of the game. So if you keep it respectful to absolutely, chat anything, just have fun. Have a good time, we'll participate within the show. So don't be shy. Drop your thoughts inside that chat. And if you really want to make sure your comment, question, concern, once again, hit up that super chat. Helps us keep the lights on all these amazing podcasts on this amazing sports network with these passionate, charismatic, enthusiastic podcasters that we have here at the network. So, you want to be, throw us a bone here and there, but ultimately we do just appreciate you guys, watching the shows, participate in the chat, drop, explode in the comments section after the videos are published on YouTube, and we get back to you guys 1,010%. We get back to you guys. So obviously hit up those super chats. We are super grateful for each and every one of you guys who joins us here daily on the GSMC Sports Network. Your support makes all the difference. So let's keep this party going. Send in those super chats, those super stickers, because you guys are super awesome, and together we will make sure this is the strongest wrestling podcast in the world. All right, so without further ado, let's go and talk about some Backlash. WWE Backlash, pretty badass. Can't really, not really complain about anything that happened. What happened was exactly what a lot of people, what was going to happen. And for the one last time, Randy Orton taking on John Cena, the WWE champion John Cena, and his name is John Cena. So this match was it was interesting. We got 3 referee bumps, which is crazy. We got finishers after finishers. We had Randy Orton trying to break the table on John Cena, didn't break. Randy Orton looked a little frustrated, so we brought out an actual table and AA'd John Cena through it, and he was like, all right, cool, we're good now. No, but, this match, it was exactly what we thought it was going to be. John Cena weaseling his way to another victory, being the heel, coming out with the last time wearing the belt backwards. And, you saw it through this match. match that this was a nice little story to be told. This was a nice little version of John Cena that a lot of people really kind of thought this storyline wouldn't really work. You know, when he was doing the 5-knuckle shuffle, he went around there, you know, he was looking at the fans, he said, "You can't see me." And everybody in their head, everybody subconsciously based on the imprint that John Cena left when they were young wrestling fans. You know, when John Cena back in 2000 and back during during the Ruthless Aggression era, where we couldn't help but to just explode in celebration for John Cena and be, you know, just being John Cena fans. And like, you kind of see yourself nowadays when it happens, you kind of see yourself like, oh my God, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, he's not the John Cena we used to, you know, that we used to know. So you know, but that's storytelling. That's great. That's something that, you know, WWE, I feel like ultimately John Cena will have a redemption story after all this. I feel like he will, you know, he'll get his, you know, maybe he'll have that version where he's kind of thinking to himself, he's like, all right, like maybe from what I've been told, or maybe I've been brainwashed, I was wrong. And then, you know, then The Rock, you know, turns on him and then, you know, steals the belt. I thought ultimately he was going to give The Rock the belt to begin with. But we're getting this retirement tour fully with John Cena holding the WWE Championship. Still no confrontation within Cody Rhodes. I kind of thought Cody Rhodes was going to come out at the end of the match where he kind of had John Cena just talking a mess. But then, of course, you saw that AA hit. And then out of the corner, out of the corner, you saw the referee just come in, and I was like, dude, you gotta be kidding me. During this whole time, you just been on the floor. And then once when John Cena hits the AA, you know, I was like, dude, I thought the match was actually going to extend, but crawling up from, I think it was the right corner, you know, you saw the referee just like come inside and you're like, great, dude. Oh, it was you know, but it is what it is. That's exactly what, you know, WWE playing on our emotions, you know, playing the heartstrings a little bit. So this match obviously was exactly what it was supposed to be. Randy Orton looked strong the whole time through the match, through all the promos. Didn't want to make him look weak. He gets screwed out of the WWE Championship, becoming a 15-time champion, and you know, this is a great way of not having John Cena drop the belt to Randy Orton, which, you know, Randy Orton's over right now with the fans. Everybody loves this new, you know, nice guy Randy Orton. I feel like he will retire as a babyface. I don't think a heel run is like kind of in his it's not in his blood right now. But then again, WWE nowadays, you know, you don't really have your traditional heels. You know, you do get your heels like on Monday Night Raw. Paul Heyman was like, you know, you shut your mouth when you're talking, when I'm talking, or something like that. Like, you know, it's cool to cater to the fans, but most of the time, you know, you're seeing that with this Drew McIntyre character as well, where you're not really necessarily calling the fans dumb or, you know, oh, this is a trash town. Like, you know what I mean? Not really like that. I feel like, you know, WWE nowadays within the Triple H Paul Levesque era, he's letting a lot of the WWE stars, you know, kind of dictate their own characters, which has been great. Fans, you know, they're cheering for Liv Morgan, they're cheering for Dominic Mysterio, and they're having fun, which is the, you know, most important part. Speaking of Dominic Mysterio, the WWE Intercontinental Championship match between Penta, Tango, Sano. I gotta be honest, I love Penta. You know, since he came to WWE, my overall first take, I think I did a video about it. Do not watch that video. I was completely wrong. I kind of wanted him to come in as like a dark luchador, attacking Rey Mysterio, being so dominant. But he's perfect just the way he is right now. But, you know, this match, you know, Dominic Mysterio was going to retain. Love Penta. He was essentially against four guys. I think that's what Michael Cole said. He's like, oh, come on, Pat. He's against four guys, which he was, you know, which he was. Once again, doesn't make Penta, you know, weak, losing, you know. But it was nice that Dominic Mysterio got a lot of positive affirmation from the fans. I feel like he right now is loving this. He's deserved it. You got to remember, once when Eddie Guerrero started in professional wrestling, he wasn't the most liked guy. He would do things like what Dominic Mysterio is doing. And, you know, he's not all that fast. He's not all that good looking with that mullet. But all in all, he knows how to wrestle. He's been around professional wrestling his whole entire life. He is literally the future. He's Rey Mysterio's son, you know, and, you know, he's a legacy. He's a legacy, and he's going to be successful in WWE. I kind of always kind of griped on the fact that it was because of his dad. I knew that Dominic Mysterio either needed a Money in the Bank briefcase to achieve his first championship or hold on to the WWE Intercontinental Championship, which is perfect, which is exactly what which is kind of what he needs to kind of take him over the top here. So retaining thanks to a little bit of help from Grande Americano, Dominic Mysterio is still your WWE Intercontinental Champion. Pat McAfee, Gunther, this match was I liked it. It was cool. You got Michael Cole getting involved, being like, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to be absolutely biased. Gunther's a bully. But I got to be brutally honest. I love the way this match ended. Being absolutely ruthless inside of the ring, Gunther was being just a pest, being evil, being demonic. Attacking Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee held his own. So congratulations to Pat, 1,010%. But it was, it was cool to kind of see Gunther offer, kind of solidarity at the end of the match, being like, kind of looked at Pat, be like, you prepared yourself, I have respect for you, which is exactly what I like about the character Gunther. I, don't really want to see him yelling at the fans and stuff like that. That's not Gunther's style. Gunther's style is, I'm dominant, I'm strong, I'm a worthy champion. You either like me or you love me. I'm confident as hell. That's just me. But him kind of I think he did it last Monday Night Raw. That he was talking trash to the fans, which is, kind of stupid. I don't really like it. Next, we have the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship match between Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria. I loved this match. I thought it was great. 3 manhandle slams. Lyra Valkyria stays in it. And, you can't help but to... when Becky Lynch came back, I was, for me, in my opinion, like her coming out and being like, Bayley deserved it. Bayley deserved this and that and the other. And, her coming out with this new heel rant, I thought it was an abomination. It was terrible. And I was like, if WWE is seriously going to just automatically just put the Intercontinental Championship on this girl, it's gonna drive me nuts. The ego of Becky Lynch once again, exploded in the world of professional wrestling. But we got, honestly, I like the way this match ended. I feel like Becky Lynch, she knows what WWE, she knows what WWE needs. I bet you either it was Michael Hayes or, Khan backstage or Pritchard. Someone was yapping, be like, oh, Becky needs to be the WWE Intercontinental Women's Champion. She needs to be it. It's for the best. And then Becky Lynch probably set him down, set him straight, be like, no, it's not my time. It's Lyra's time. We need to make this belt prestigious. And this match, before this match and before, the promos between Becky and Lyra Valkyria about 2 weeks ago, the women's mid-card title, the Intercontinental Championship, and the United States Championship, they both looked like they were in absolute trouble. Not so much the Intercontinental now. This match has changed so much, and this feud, it's going to go on. It's going to go on. Becky's going to once again challenge Lyra Valkyria, and she's going to do it right. SummerSlam, that's when she's going to, probably take the belt off of Lyra Valkyria, but it was the best move for Lyra, and Becky knows that. She knows overall the business perspective of WWE, and most importantly, she sees from the perspective of a fan. She was once a fan of wrestling, and I was happy that Becky Lynch did not let the fans get duped during this match. So it was kind of cool. Becky Lynch obviously is, bummed out and, still, playing that heel role, beating the holy hell out of Lyra Valkyria after the match. Lyra in the middle, she was kind of favoring her eye throughout the match. I was like, holy crap. I think she actually hurt her eye. That's crazy. Congratulations to Lyra Valkyria. She honestly deserved it. She did not deserve to have the belt taken off of her from Becky Lynch, so early within their feud. So I love the way it ended. I thought it was pretty cool. Congratulations to both Becky and Lyra Valkyria for one hell of a PLE. So, super cool, super awesome. Definitely like it. I love it. So, give me your thoughts on on the Backlash. Tell me, who do you think should, take the belt off of Lyra Valkyria? If not anybody. Maybe Roxanne Perez. That'd be crazy. That'd be pretty cool for Roxanne. All right, guys, so hey, do not go anywhere. Speaking of the women's division, we're going to talk about the tag team division. Maybe it's dead. Perhaps it's cursed. Something is wrong, and we're going to dig on into it. So grab your favorite snack. Grab your favorite ice cold beverage. Join me here in about 15 seconds. So hey, do not go anywhere.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, live every Monday night on the GSMC Podcasting Network, the GSMC Sports Network on YouTube. So make sure you guys, Superman punch that like and subscribe button to get some cool notifications when we go live and also publish new content. So, we talk about everything inside the ring, all the action inside and out. We talk about superstar, inactive statuses, injury updates, contract negotiations, extensions, and new signings. Also some releases from promotions like New Japan Professional Wrestling, AEW, Ring of Honor, TNA, WWE, NXT, you name it. If it makes major news in the world of professional wrestling, we dissect it, we analyze it, we talk about it here on this podcast 1010%. So definitely do not miss it. Be a part of the movement. Be a part of the revolution that is the GSMC Sports Network. All right, without further ado, we're going to talk about the women's tag team titles. Is it cursed? Is the division, is it dead? Is it just damn near struggling? I got to be honest. I'm not, recently in WWE, these tag team belts honestly are meaningless. Like it's bad. It's getting bad, and starting from what it kind of used to be. It's kind of funny that the WWE needed Women's World Tag Team titles for such a long time. They needed the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship, and then the moment they finally did it, it was like, too little, too late, I feel like. But better late than never, I guess, is the philosophy in terms of, the women's division in WWE. Also in terms of, Lucha Libre and some of the luchadors that, came to WWE ultimately to kind of be exploited stereotypically. But, nowadays, we're seeing, top tier stars finally get the recognition or the respect they deserve. So, you've seen this tag team division, you've seen actually tag team wrestlers win it. Like, you kind of see the iconics. Like, You had Bayley, Sasha Banks, borderline. This is something that I hate about tag team wrestling in WWE when they win it. Like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn dethroning the Usos. Like, two main eventers, two main stars, single stars winning tag team gold is not tag team wrestling. And it's bad. It's bad, 1010%. If the tag team division should be tag team division, like who all forgot how awesome this tag team was? Didn't really last long. Nothing against Ronda Rousey. Wasn't a huge Ronda Rousey guy. But I do have a lot of love and respect for Shayna Baszler, 1010%. Let's just face it. Let's just look reality in the eyes, guys. The tag team, the dominant tag team run between Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, once again, 2 single stars, destroyed the women's tag team division. It completely flipped it upside down. It diminished all the competition. Were you trying to put like just Jade over? Were you trying to get her used to fighting in WWE that she couldn't fight singles matches on her own? You kind of saw with with Naomi. She kind of does belong in the tag team division as well. Definitely loved it when her and Sasha Banks won it, and then they kind of walked out of WWE based on creative frustrations, especially within the women's division. And, a lot of credit has been given to Triple H during this new Paul Levesque era, which, by all means he deserves. It's all good. Round of applause, dude. Good job. The women's division is still kind of seeming like it's kind of reeling back to the way it was during the Vince McMahon era, like circa 2018 to 2022. Like, it just, I don't know. It just, and, it just, for me, I feel like it's backpedaling. And, look at what happened at WrestleMania. Lyra Valkyria and Bianca and Becky Lynch defeat Liv and Raquel. Just sort of a night later, you drop the titles back? Like, how seriously are we supposed to take these titles if stuff like that is happening? It's crazy. Like, the women's tag team division it's in trouble. It's cursed. These tag team belts are literally just, and it's, so is it really, are we really at a point where if you're not a main eventer, teaming up with another main eventer, you will never ever hold the women's world tag team titles? Is that really where we're going right now? Is that what WWE should have done? Because, you have, Alexa Bliss and, Nikki Cross were, I gotta be honest, I was a fan of that, totally going against my word, being a little hypocritical here, based on my love for Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. But, I don't know, it just seems like, you see Liv Morgan, former WWE World Women's Champion, Bianca Belair, former WWE Champion, Raquel Rodriguez, NXT Champion, and then Jade, single star. Tag team? Not really a tag team. It's cool and all, but you're not a tag team like Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. You're not like that. You'll never be like that. These are women who should be holding the tag team titles. Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend should be holding Women's World Tag Team Championship gold. But instead, you release 3 girls on this screen. And what are they going to do with Lash Legend now that she's going to get drafted, obviously. You had the Metaphor breakup, which was kind of cute. It was awesome. Kind of bring a tear to my eye. I don't want them to destroy Lash Legend. If they fumble on her character in WWE, I got to be honest, I'm going to be so upset. I'm going to be pissed. Be legitimately pissed. It's going to be crazy. And a lot of people believe that, girl factions, it empowers them. We did it once before. We have the 4 horsewomen. Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Becky Lynch. And it was so damn good. But, look at what's happening with Fatal Influence right now. JC Jane achieving success in TNA. Also Jasmine Nix. Also Fallon Henley. I ultimately do feel like a lot of these superstars that were released in the women's division in WWE will wind up in TNA, and TNA will open up a mid-card title. That's obviously what I'm hoping for, because the Knockouts division does seem like it does need at least 5 more superstars within that division, with thus creating a mid-card title, which would be pretty badass. Look at Absolution. Mandy Rose, she achieved success, but ultimately kind of got buried by WWE. Sonya Deville never really seemed like she kind of got into it. And obviously Saraya or Paige getting, having a, back injury, history is not really that good. PFC, I had such high hopes for this faction. I thought it was going to bring the much deserving Zoe Stark and the amazing, talented, gifted Shayna Baszler the recognition they deserve, but it didn't really come in fruition. It was just stupid. It was a joke. Sonya Deville too. I was happy that Sonya Deville came back to wrestle again, but ultimately they kind of get, kind of like egg on the face. Got spit on the face. Look at this other women's stable. Riot Squad, Sarah Logan, Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan, obviously, she did good things. Ruby Riott as well. But I'm kind of seeing a trend here. Tag teams in WWE that are actual tag teams in the women's division, they get crapped on. They get released, then signed back. They a trash storyline where you turn your back on your partner, and then your singles run is an effing joke. Do you not see the pattern here that's going down? The 2 tag teams that are well deserving right there on your screen. The Unholy Union, Kaden Carter, actual women's tag team. Doesn't help. Damage Control is, I feel like is an outlier. But then again, Dakota Kai released. Kairi Sane. Io Sky's officially moved into, single stardom. When Asuka comes back, it would be super shocking if she'd be like, I'm going to give up, because she's still young, still talented, much potential. I'm going to give up on my WWE Women's World Championship aspirations to be in the tag team division. which in reality, and you've seen the evidence right now, is a bad idea. Women in tag team stables doesn't really seem like it's helping their career in WWE, in professional wrestling. You know, I said it before. If you're not a Bianca Belair, if you're not a Jade Cargill in the women's division, if you're not two main eventers holding the tag team titles, WWE doesn't care. I don't think they care. And they'll release you with the snap of their fingers, and it's awful. So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do about it, Triple H? Tell me right now. Well, this is what we're gonna do, Eric. I'm just kidding. No, that was the bad Triple H impression. I just hope that this division gets fixed. And we're gonna talk about it next. We're gonna talk about the releases of these WWE superstars. More or less the women that got released. Jakar Jackson. It's Gigi Doling once again with Tatum Paxley and Shotzi too. Like a women faction that WWE was like, oh, this will propel them and make them relevant within professional wrestling. Just to only get released. Going after the tag team championships, going after the TNA Knockouts women's tag team championships, and not really achieving, not really being gifted the respect they deserve. So we're going to talk about the recent releases in WWE, my reactions. So grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage. Join me here in about 15 seconds. So hey, do not go anywhere.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on the GSMC Sports Network, the GSMC Podcasting Network, streaming on YouTube and Twitch. So make sure you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. We talk about all the action inside and outside the ring, all the backstage curtain calls, all the rumors, all the dramas, conspiracy theories that fans love to talk about. I do love to talk about conspiracy theories, hell yeah. We talk about, superstar and active statuses, injury updates, contract negotiations, extensions, and new signings. Also releases, which we're going to talk about right now. We talk about WWE, AEW to, Ring of Honor, TNA, Stardom, New Japan Professional Wrestling, GCW, Deathlock Professional Wrestling. We talk about it here on this show. So make sure you guys, be a part of the, the sports revolution that is the GSMC Sports Network. So without further ado, I'm going to give you guys my reaction to the releases of, a lot of WWE superstars. We saw this happen before, a huge wave of superstars just being like, all right, hey, Leia. A lot of good ones, some that do make sense. But every woman that was released in WWE, I gotta be honest, it was a huge mistake. It was really bad. It was very, very bad. It was a bloodbath. It was crazy. A lot of these women's wrestlers were like, "Oh my God, this girl's gonna be incredible." In WWE, and then just find out what happens at the end is just it's hard. It's hard. It's really, really hard. Starting out with Shotzi. Shotzi, when she came back to WWE, she had a knee injury, and it was, then she came back to NXT, and she paid dividends. She was entertaining to watch. She still seemed like she didn't miss a step in professional wrestling. And then, then rumors come out that she wasn't training properly, or, this is not how a woman wrestler should be wrestling. And then Shotzi kind of, it seemed like, and if those rumors are correct, like WWE could actually be in a lot of trouble. So I'm hoping that, that doesn't happen with lawsuits and stuff like that. No one wants an ugly breakup, but overall, Shotzi, it was really shocking that she got released. Dakota Kai should have been a face, should have been a WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion, but, there's been speculation that WWE was waiting for Becky Lynch to come back so damn much to have this feud with Lyra Valkyria that you saw names like Ivy Nile, like Dakota Kai suffer because it was like, oh, no, we can't take the title off of Lyra. This is what we're saving Becky for. This is what we want Becky for. And, you saw these stars, like, suffer for it. They, it's like what is it called? Middle child syndrome, where you don't get the attention you deserve, then you turns out, something bad happens, and, Dakota Kai getting released, and she would have been such a great face as the mid-card title holder. I don't think she's fully done with WWE. I really honestly don't. I know she does host her own podcast. She does stream on Twitch. So, she's still doing her own thing. She's going to be successful outside of WWE without a doubt. So, but I really honestly hope that she comes back. Next, we have Gallus. This is kind of a move that made sense to me. They have not really kind of been on WWE. I think last time I saw them on WWE was Evolve. I think they came to Evolve. I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on that. And then they made their stint in TNA. It just... when they came back and, they started attacking everybody thought that they were going to be, the next stable, the next dominant stable to take over NXT, kind of like what Dark State is doing right now. But then again, based on the lemons that we had in the past, can you judge what's going to happen in the present, leaving a sour taste in your mouth? Gallus didn't really live up to potential. Riley Osborne, I hate it. You had Duke Hudson's contract expire. You still have Andre Chase in NXT, but I feel like he's like right there within the next WWE layoffs. But then again, he did ultimately like create Chase U again. And Thea Hale, I really honestly don't hope. I hope that Thea Hale does not get released because I love her work inside the ring. I love Duke Hudson too. He was so badass. Riley Osborne too. Riley Osborne, I feel like could be an X Division champion in TNA 1,010%. So I'm only hoping that TNA is going to sign him, much like they did with Indy Hartwell. So, crossing my fingers for that. Like I said before, Gigi Doling, with Shotzi, with Tatum Paxley, the women's stables in WWE does not hold success if you're not two former champions tag teaming together and being a tag team. And it makes no sense. No sense, because the Women's World Tag Team title picture is just an absolute disarray. It's awful. It's egregious. It's erroneous. It's egregious. It's crazy. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. It sucks. But Gigi Doling once again was, and she came back too. Danny Palmer recently being featured on Evolve, helping out some of the young talent, and she's very talented. That first match she had. Where she teamed up with, and I can't think of her name right now, and I feel kind of bad, Armstrong, going up against Carly Bright, and oh god, I don't know why I want to call her. Can't think of it. It's gonna pop up randomly, and I'm gonna yell at the screen, and it's gonna look bad. But yeah, no, she had one hell of a match. I thought she was, super athletic, jumping off the top rope, hitting some awesome moves, and it's been, Kendall Gray. Damn it, that's what I need. It's Kendall Gray. But overall, I feel like she's, going to be great back in the independent circuit, since she's going to kick ass. Oro Mensah too. There's been promises that he was going to shine and Evolve. Maybe he does come back. Like I said, a lot of these WWE releases, maybe there's a little bit of a jump gun reaction from the fans, from wrestling media. But I feel like he's going to get signed. He's going to be great. He's going to be, he's going to be exactly what his potential will live up to. I feel like he's going to be a champion. Like I said, if he goes to TNA, being part of the X Division in TNA seems like it's been kind of, a little bit repetitive there, because there they do have the Digital Media Championship. They kind of have two mid-card titles there to kind of balance things out. So, I don't know where we'll see Oro Mensah. Javier Bernal, we all saw this one coming, not being relevant in WWE. Inside the ring, your traditional wrestlers nowadays seems like they're not really, they're not really successful. You kind of have to have more of a, and I'm not dogging on the guy, obviously talented, Eric, you go into the ring and do what he does. I can't do it. Like I said, respect, absolute respect, 1,010%. But in terms of modern day professional wrestling, I just feel like maybe he doesn't got it, Eddie Thorpe too, traditional wrestling where you stay on the ground, the pound and ground game, you're kind of seeing it right now in the TNA with the system, the former tag team champions, Myers and Edwards, them holding the tag team championships for that damn long, I thought was kind of stupid. I felt like I said, more of a ground and pound game, slow, not really fast. And you've seen WWE, like you've seen it with Nathan Frazier and Axiom, holding the WWE NXT tag team championships for that long. It was because every single time they came out, everybody was interested. Everybody wanted to see the match. Everybody wanted to see what they have to offer. Look at what the Street Profits. They propelled themselves to the top of the SmackDown tag team division based on Montez Ford being electric. D'Angelo Dawkins seeming like he should be in that natural ground and pound traditional wrestling game because of his size. He's jumping over top ropes. He's doing backflips. He's expanding his range a little bit. And, he goes balls to the wall, which I feel like 1,010% why the Street Profits finally are getting the recognition they deserve. Braun Strowman, what is it? The NFL has like the Walter Payton Man of the Year. This guy is literally amazing. I feel like he's not done with WWE. He's probably going to be working backstage. I feel like maybe he might jump onto the bandwagon of this Wyatt Six. And it's just crazy because you see all these wrestlers being released and you're like, okay, but everybody from the Wyatt Six, once they lost to the Final Testament years ago, it feels like, they're still signed to WWE. And you release one guy that a lot of the fans love. A lot of the fans could connect to Braun Strowman. He's very prominent on social media, talking always great things about professional wrestling and the WWE universe. And, you let him go. That's why I feel like, once again, not jumping the gun here, I feel like Braun Strowman will come back to WWE eventually. Now, getting back to the releases that I hate. What really grinds my gears? Shayna Baszler, a very talented, much deserving wrestler who should have had a lot more success in WWE. And it's just, it was a damn shame. There was this Elimination Chamber match. Can't really pinpoint the exact year where she single-handedly eliminated everybody. Even big names like Asuka, where one knee strike, and she was absolutely dominant. And Shayna Baszler, this is they messed up with Shayna Baszler. They were very hot, cold. They kind of had a like a bipolar approach on how should we handle Shayna Baszler. She was either looking super dominant, kicking ass, and looking like she can be a WWE champion, women's champion for like 3 years, or we'll have her drop matches and look like a jobber. And you can't have that. If the person doesn't have the sauce, I get it. But Shayna Baszler had the sauce. One of the most successful wrestlers that transitioned from UFC, MMA to professional wrestling was Shayna Baszler, and she definitely, she deserves more. I want to see her come back. I was hoping for her and Jordynne Grace match, which would have been super, super awesome. But we won't get that. Hopefully she can. Like I said, I'm not trying to jump the gun too much. I'm not trying to express too much emotion. Next, we have Cora Jade. Cora Jade, about a couple weeks ago, there was speculation saying that, WWE body shamed her and this and that and the other. And if that's true, WWE is going to be in trouble with lawsuits and stuff like that. But Cora Jade also, she was in WWE, she was in NXT, traveled to TNA, and she was, she was great. She was great within her matchups, and and her alliance with Roxanne Perez on her return was pretty badass, which makes me think that maybe we won't see the end of Cora Jade. I feel like she was ultimately released, but not released, once when Roxanne Perez makes her way up to the Raw roster. I feel like there will be a revamp of the Women's World Tag Team division. Hopefully, desperately needs it like yesterday. But if Roxanne Perez doesn't propel herself into the main event or like a singles mid-card women's title on Raw, you're going to see, maybe Cora Jade getting involved in her Roxanne Perez, pursue the women's, World Tag Team Championships, which, we've seen that picture painted before. So maybe that, that's the reason why it's kind of steering me away that, Cora Jade might actually be gone from WWE. But ultimately, I just, definitely going to miss Cora Jade. She added a different kind of flavor. I ultimately thought, she I thought she was gonna kind of be like a reincarnated reboot of Paige. You know, she has the same rock star persona and her dressing and stuff like that, her outfits, and I kind of thought that she was gonna be like a Paige, being drafted to Monday Night Raw. But I think she's on her way to the independent wrestling circuits. I know she's very prominent on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, basically saying that, hey, 30 more days till I do this or that and the other. So coming back to dominating indie wrestling again. Katana Chance, Kaden Carter, absolute bummer, man. Crazy, how the two girls who should be Women's World Tag Team Champions multiple times with multiple long title runs, title reigns. Basically the definition of Women's World Tag Team Championship Wrestling get released, and they are not Women's World Tag Team Champions. It just doesn't make sense. Like I said, the Women's World Tag Team division is an absolute shambles. It's crazy right now. That long reign of terror that Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair had destroyed so many tag teams. Definitely effed up a lot of these women. Look at the Unholy Union, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. Look at Kaden Carter and Katana Chance. Look at the Metaphor Girls. They all suffered at the hands of, two single stars holding the Women's World Tag Team Champions, which is an absolute abomination. It's crazy. I'm not blaming Bianca Belair and Jade, obviously. They're not, they're more or less, they're wrestlers, they're superstars. They're not pulling the strings backstage, if you know what I'm saying. But ultimately, so sad that these girls are gone. Hopefully they come back. Jakara Jackson, too, one of my favorite wrestlers. Her, during this tag team run with Last Legend, Metaphor Girls, she took a lot of the beatings during the match, man. And, she didn't miss on her cues. There was a couple of times where, it seemed like she was ultimately kind of playing second fiddle to, like, her opponent, where her opponent, like, kind of had to slow down the match a little bit. But this is an example of someone who literally got better and better and better and better, only to be released. And it's just a damn shame. And she's so gifted, she's so talented, and it sucks that she's gone. She kind of said that she was going to go toward like a new persona after her WWE run. So, maybe we might not get a Miss Jackson, but I definitely, wish the best for all these superstars who are released or who might come back to WWE or find success within the independent wrestling circuits. The game is different now. The game in terms of professional wrestling is absolutely different. You can wrestle in indies and be absolutely successful. So many options in professional wrestling in this entertainment industry. So there's no doubt that these people are gonna, definitely bounce back 1,010%. So can't help but to wish for the best for a lot of these awesome, amazing superstars. All right, without further ado, our fifth and final segment, we're going to talk a little bit about AEW Dynamite Beach Break. We're going to preview it, so grab your favorite snack, grab your favorite ice cold beverage. Join me here in about 20 seconds, so hey, do not go anywhere. And we are back with the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your favorite wrestling fan here, Eric Rodriguez, every Monday night live on the GSMC Sports Network, the GSMC Podcasting Network, streaming live on YouTube and Twitch. So make sure you guys Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show to get notifications when we also publish new video content. And also make sure you sound off in the comment section telling us how you feel 1,010%. We will get back to you. So without further ado, we got my fifth and final segment. Going to keep it short here. No running. Always run past. Just rambling on for hours and hours and hours. We're going to talk about AEW Dynamite Beach Break. So we're supposed to get an answer from Bobby Lashley in terms of letting MJF in the Hurt Syndicate. It's never really seemed like this really storyline seems like it really kind of belonged in MJF's locker room. If you catch my drift, MJF, his personality and where he shines in professional wrestling isn't him pandering, begging, Montel for a job with the Hurt Syndicate, or that's not really MJF's style. So is he really honestly kind of doing it for a reason? Does he feel like MVP will put him into AEW World Championship potential or the picture? It's possible, but that picture right now is so stacked with everybody just itching and clawing to get back at it. The only thing that really makes sense here is a feud between Bobby Lashley and MJF, a match that a lot of fans honestly probably would like to see rather than MJF join this Hurt Syndicate, which I kind of compare it to like Sami Zayn joining, the Bloodline, being the honorary Uce, or who knows, maybe it's crazy. Maybe MJF, and Shelton Benjamin and MVP turn on Bobby Lashley, and then that happens, which won't happen. But it's nice to, like I said, conspiracy theories fans would make things a little interesting, being honest, but they're tag team champions, so that's not going to happen. My most likely, what I think will happen, and it probably won't happen because I'm stupid. Okay, so the Hurt Business is looking for a third character, and the Hurt Syndicate, is looking for a third piece to the puzzle. Cedric Alexander, used to be part of the Hurt Business, and he's been, he got released from WWE, and they're like, oh, you know what? We actually found a third guy. And then MJF's like, what? What do you mean? And then bam, like the music hits, and then Cedric Alexander comes out, and then that's the guy to the and then then Bobby Lashley gives his tag team title to to Alexander to team up with Shelton Benjamin to fight in AEW in the World Tag Team Division. That seemed like that'd be ultimately kind of the overall goal, which in my opinion would make sense. Because other than that, Bobby Lashley needs to be in the main event picture. He does. The Hurt Syndicate being AEW World Tag Team Champions, it's cool and all, it's good for them, but I want to see, a lot of people they expect more from Bobby Lashley. They want to see Bobby Lashley in more of those singles competition, which will definitely, start with the feud with MJF, which would be pretty badass, I would honestly love to see that. Instead of MJF, like I said, pulling a Sami Zayn, being the honorary Uce, doing dirty work for the Hurt Syndicate, and them kind of being like, oh, that's so cool, that's so funny, look at him try to beat up somebody, that's awesome. We hurt people. Sorry, that kind of hurt. But I don't know. If this storyline is, if it needs to make sense, I kind of thought maybe Ricochet was going to get into it, but I don't think that's much of the diagnostic now. Next, we have Ricochet taking on Zach Gowen. Speaking of Ricochet, I want to see Ricochet win. I want to start seeing, his heel turn is, it's cool and all, but he looks like a high schooler with his backwards hat, with these little quips, with these little insults and the random laughs and stuff like that. Like, it's, I love that Ricochet left at WWE. WWE did nothing with his character. Ultimately wasted his talent. And I agree with that 1,010%. But he comes to AEW, and I feel like he's more of like a clown. He's more of an antagonist. Like, I would love to see him hold a championship. I would love to see him hold, not the Digital Media Championship. What's the, the Ring of Honor, the secondary, the TV champion. Men's television. It could work. We got Death Before Dishonor coming up. I think it's in July. Maybe he finds a way to win the title. I feel like Ricochet belongs in more of a mid-card title picture. Going up against Swerve Strickland in his first little stint. Obviously, didn't really do much for his career in AEW because Swerve is over right now. Everybody loves Swerve Strickland in AEW, and you got to respect what Swerve has done for AEW. Cody Rhodes, left the company, said, hey, bye. CM Punk didn't like the backstage politics with the EVPs, and I can kind of see it. And he was like, oh, hey, bye. And then Samoa Joe leaves to film, I think it was Twisted Metal, I think he was going off filming. Bryan Danielson on the verge of retirement. And, Jon Moxley as the IWGP champion in New Japan Professional Wrestling not really being featured on AEW. So he really, honestly, had so much on his plate. 1,010%. And, and now, and then you put him against Ricochet, then Ricochet, obviously, he's going to lose. So, kind of already started off on the wrong foot. Maybe it'll hold justice and, become something better. But, hey, what are we going to do? Next, we have the AEW Women's World Championship Eliminator. Timeless Toni Storm against Sky Blue versus question mark. So we have two people. Women's Tag Team Eliminator match. Who makes the most sense to fight at Double or Nothing? Double or Nothing. Question marks. I'm already kind of thinking Mariah May might make her way back to AEW to kind of have a round. I think it'll be round 3. Maybe it might be. Could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. With the Timeless Toni Storm, maybe we might get I doubt we'll get any we'll get any surprise. I definitely think maybe Megan Bayne will be a part of it. It kind of makes sense for her to do so because she's still very much in terms of the AEW Women's World title division. She's she's dominant. She's up there. I feel, she's a complete badass. Thunder Rosa, obviously, tag team with Toni Storm recently on Dynamite. I don't really think she's gonna be the other name, but I don't know. It should be interesting. Every single time Toni Storm steps inside the match or holds the mic, it's always it's always super entertaining. So we're in for a surprise. Hangman Adam Page with Will Ospreay taking on Konosuke Takeshita and Josh Alexander of the Don Callis family. Obviously, Josh Alexander's debut in AEW was spoiled from Hangman Adam Page. Now he's tag teaming with a guy he's going to fight at Double or Nothing to determine who will win the Owen Hart Cup champion. The Owen Hart Cup, I don't even championship. No, it's not. And who will get a title shot at All in Texas. I feel like Hangman's going to win that match against Will Ospreay, but I think it's going to be how many? We got 2 weeks? No. Yeah, we got about 2 weeks. We have about 2 weeks until Double or Nothing. So we're going to start building up these guys hating each other. I feel like that is ultimately what AEW needs to do. This Owen Hart Cup match at Double or Nothing needs to kind of be the bee's knees, needs to kind of hold and jeopardize the entire future of the wrestling careers of Ospreay and Hangman Adam Page. So, something needs to be done, because right now it still kind of seems like, on a couple of Dynamite, recently on Dynamite you had a Hangman kind of, tell the fans I was in a real bad place, this and that and the other, and Will Ospreay kind of telling them, looking them dead in the eyes, like, I've never fought you, bruv, and, we never had our, so I feel like, obviously somebody has to lose, right? There needs to be a little bit more meat, a little bit more teeth with this, with this feud that they have with this match. I like the fact that maybe two baby faces going at it, nice little handshake, being like, hey, made the best man win would be pretty badass. But when you insert the Don Callis family, and they look weak right now. Fletcher lost, Konosuke Takeshita losing his AEW International Championship against Kenny Omega, and then just losing in the Owen Hart Cup. It seems like they kind of taking a step back. So, I see them building up a little bit more potential, a little bit more momentum, They honestly need this win more than Hangman Adam Page and Will Ospreay. Obviously, in my opinion, 1,010%. Next, we have the AEW World Championship match. Jon Moxley defends his title in a steel cage match against Samoa Joe. Love Samoa Joe. He is, the Ops, obviously, Trios champions. Holding the World Championship, not in his future. He's not going to win. The only person that's going to dethrone Jon Moxley is at All In, whoever wins the Owen Hart Cup. Basically, could pencil their name in for the new AEW World Champion. But that's just my opinion. I feel like Moxley, we'll see the Ops get into it. They recently introduced Powerhouse Hobbs into the gang, but this Death Rider storyline, it's dying. It's getting a little dry. A lot of the wrestling media, not really digging on it anymore. So there needs to be a new flame. There needs to be a young, ambitious person added to the group, and it's got to be Hook. Hook's got to join the Death Riders. I know, like, they're the one who took him out, but kind of the same thing with Wheeler Yuta. It seems like it kind of paints the overall perspective of how the Death Riders roll. Be like, hey, if you're not with us, you're against us. We'll help you do this and that and the other. And I know this theory might sound bananas, like I said, because they're the one who took out Hook. But Hook, as of right now, doesn't really seem like he belongs on the Ops. And he's such a young... His contract is nearing the end. I'm not too sure if he's going to just ride it out with the Ops and, test free agency when his contract expires from All Elite Wrestling. Maybe, but you can bet your ass if Hook joins the Death Riders, it'll spice things up. Even Taz said it. Tony Schiavone was, he said it. I think it was Tony Schiavone, or oh my God, what's the other guy's name? I can't think of the guy who wears the mask. Damn it! Why am I forgetting names today? Excalibur. And then Taz said on the, he said on the mic, he said on the interview and commentary, he was like, look, Hook's going to come back and he's going to do what he's got to do. And he's going to do what he thinks, what's best for him. And I heard that and I was like, all right, it wasn't like, oh, Hook's going to come back and beat the holy hell out of the Death Riders and team up with the Ops again. He was ultimately replaced with Powerhouse Hobbs. Is Hobbs going to give up 1/3 of his Trios championship to Hook? Be like, oh, hey, here, you win. Good job. No, definitely not. So you need a new storyline with Hook. I feel like it would be beneficial for, the Death Rider storyline for Hook, for AEW, if you add a new edition of Hook. The cold-hearted, handsome devil. Cold-hearted, definitely, there's no friends in professional wrestling. No friends whatsoever. And then Hook, just creating allies with the Death Riders. It seems like it makes sense. Seems like the most sense. Maybe he comes in and Samoa Joe thinks that he's going to help him. And then bam, Hook attacks Samoa Joe. Jon Moxley retains the championship. Because, Pac is gone. He's going to be injured for quite some time. Claudio Castagnoli, I love him as a singles wrestler, and I definitely feel like he is, he's championship material. But recently, he's been his character kind of looks weak. He does lose often, but then again, he kind of wins often. He's like the ultimately definition of consistency, I guess you can say. Consistent loser, consistent winner. I'm just kidding. No, but. I don't know. I just feel like this Death Rider storyline, something needs to change. Just a different spin on it, and it would be interesting to see, Hook join the dark side. But who knows? Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast. That's it for me. Hope you guys have an amazing week. Like I said, hope you guys had an amazing Mother's Day. If you missed it, send your mom a card, some flowers, some chocolates. Show her that you care. Take her out to lunch. Take her out to dinner or dessert. Maybe get some froyo. Yogurtland is that still a thing? Yogurtland? But anyways, remember to follow us on Instagram, Twitter /X, however you guys like to call it, Facebook and TikTok for more content and updates. Always remember, if I have not made you a wrestling fan by now, make sure you guys join in all the other podcasts with all these young, amazing podcasters. All the shows that they do is absolutely special, is absolutely super badass. So do not miss it. Do not regret not being a part of this revolution. Smash that like, and please, please, please smash that subscribe button. I give you guys the Eric Rodriguez guarantee that you will never, ever, 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 ever regret subscribing to such an amazing sports network. 1010%. Eric, out. Stay beautiful. Always, most importantly, love you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit and the